viewers, welcome to Economics Today on TVRC. My name is Kolawole Itunoluwa. Joining me on set is Mr. Akintunde Somi Vincent. He's a lead analyst on TVRC and also an educationist. We are going to be discussing on another topic today, which says inflation surge and World Bank projection. It is said that inflation is a persistent rise in general price level of goods and services. As we are all aware that inflation has taken place in the world, there is increase in so many things, increase in goods and services, increase in shelter, increase in transportation, most especially increase in foodstuff. What could be the solution of this? Moreover, we shouldn't forget that the mission of World Bank is to eradicate poverty and make good standard of living. So today we're going to be listening to our guest speaker by asking him one or two things about what he knows about the problem we are facing. Mr. Sami, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, how are you?
Better than yesterday.
How is everything?
Fine.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question. Why do you think the world is still facing inflation?
Well, we have so many factors that could amount to inflation. And that of the world, before we look at that of Nigeria, is that number one is the current crisis in Ukraine. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Don't forget that Ukraine is part of the largest exporter of grain, and also there are so many supplies that that do comes from Russia to other developed nations. But lately, because of the war, there's a blockade. Their seas happens to seems to be experiencing some blockade, and the goods and services are not forthcoming. So therefore, there's a kind of shortage of those supplies, and there's the little ones that are available. The price have been placed on them, which leads to what we call inflation. And out of Nigeria, whatever happened in the larger society, in the larger world, also happens to the underdeveloped and developing nation. So we would say generally, as we stand now, it basically boils down to the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Akintunde. Now the next question: do you think the World Bank is making efforts to stop inflation and eradicating poverty in the world?
In my opinion, the answer is actually relative, in the sense that it's yes and no.
Okay.
Sometimes the World Bank, they make the money available to country, but the point is, many a times they fail to do a kind of a follow-up on the money that is being released. Most of the money that World Bank released to all the underdeveloped country and developing country is oftentimes ended up in the hands of looters, in the end of corrupt politicians, and the money are underutilized. And those that are, basically, by the way, it is imperative for me to say something like this, that the projection, the inflation rate, and the projection of the World Bank is that things should move beyond the 15%. But as we stand, Nigeria is currently on the 20%, and so it's not really good for the country. So back to your question, is that you see, most of the time when you release money, follow-up is essential as you releasing the money. Because when you fail to follow the money up, before you know it, the money ends up in the hands of thieves. I don't want to call them looters, because thieves they are always thieves. It's enough of giving it a kind of a colorization, calling it misappropriation of fund, embezzlement. No, he has stolen that money and is a thief, and thief is a thief. So the money ends up in the hands of thieves, and the citizens will definitely suffer for it in the long run.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Akintunde. Now let's talk about China. Like, according to my research, I heard that China has the lowest rate of inflation of 2.1%. What's your take on that?
It's because when you see there's a difference between a producing state and a consuming state.
Okay.
When you look, see, that's why, like the popular Yoruba, saying that the pots that will cook a proper food must experience an intensity of the fire. they've gone through thick and thin, and they've sacrificed a lot to make sure they are where they are today. When you look at China, look at the number of goods, look at the number of commodities that they produce.
Exactly, yeah,
Look at the number of goods that are being fizzled into another country from
That's
China.
true, that's
Virtually Nigeria. In short, the whole of Zambia should be tagged made in China. The whole of Zambia, and even in Nigeria, look at the number of China goods that be it electronics, be it cosmetics, be it even foods, some foods, some of all these canned foods. Check the manufacturer whatsoever. It's always made in China. Even kids, toys for kids to play with, made in China. This just to cite an instance, China. Oh yes, we have other countries that are also producing, but come to some third world countries, some third world states. Good number of them are so, they are so. I don't want to use the word so nonchalant and so carefree that they just want to consume. The consumption rate is so magnanimous, is so massive compared to states that are producing. So I think these are the factors. So China is a producing state,
Sure.
and that's why the inflation rate is on the minimal radar. Why most of the third world states that Africa belongs, so many African countries are more or less like consuming states. They just want to consume and get their tummy filled up. It's all about eating gari, cassava, and with okra soup to get themselves filled up. Why kids in some country? Kids, those in the elementaries,
All right.
they've been inculcated, they've been indoctrinated, they've been channeled into the idea of wanting to produce. They've been that mindset is already in them. That see, at this level, you have to start thinking of, and that's why you said them. Go and check the videos. See small, settling up mobile phones. Small kids in the elementary schools. Come now to think of those who are the adults, who are every minute of their life, they are always in the industry. Cotton, you see them there. They are ladies. Go to the cotton industry, they are there. The tech world, they are there. Virtually everything. Their level of production is highly commendable, and that's what makes them stand out amongst the world. Don't forget, they are the second leading economy in the world. Yeah, China's second leading economy after the United States.
That's true. Thank you very much, Mr. Akintunde. Viewers, I hope you're enjoying the program. Now, Mr. Akintunde, this is another question for you. Now, what are the way out by which the World Bank can assist the underdeveloped country or countries facing inflation right now, just like Venezuela, Sudan, and even Nigeria?
Yeah, like I said, that one of the best way to help the underdeveloped world or to help the third world state is not just to give out loans, to give out money, to give out whatever they want to do. They must follow up.
Sure.
Set up, when you are giving out the money, set up a task force to monitor those money. And before money is given, the reason for that money should be spelled out, point blank.
Sure.
And there should be a kind of a note to back it up after achieving the objective of those agenda that you set before the World Bank. There should be a kind of feedback.
Okay.
You have to write, you have to do videos, you have to send people to come and see if those things were actually put in place. Okay. If it's for basic infrastructure, put it there. And after you've done it, then the World Bank should also send what's it called, task force to come and monitor to monitor the project and to give a kind of evaluation on the project. So that's the best way. Look, just imagine the way people are looting money in this country. One person in some third world state can single-handedly pay all the citizens in a million. Just one person. And nobody is saying, and all this money, funny enough, they are being sent to the European country. To so many of the money they are sent to Switzerland. they keep all those in the Swiss bank, what's it called, in UK. You will see people stolen money from Africa.
Sure.
They have, I mean, enough. Let's
Sure.
enough of this hypocritic and kind of. If you are going to give her the money, monitor the money, because so many. Look at the democracy of some states in Africa. You can compare to some states in the
Sure,
in Europe,
that's true.
in America.
Yeah, that's true.
Some they are just they are less than 50 years old, while some in the Western
Yeah.
world and the good number are 200 years. They are,
Sure.
so these people, you have to play the role of a teacher and a student. After giving your student assigned homework, they will return it back to the school and the teacher will evaluate. But when you leave the student, okay, I'm giving you homework, go and do your homework, and that's all. Either the student made an attempt on the homework, it's none of it's not your business anymore, and it's not always too good for the development of that kid.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. So the next question is, what are the ways by which Nigerian governments can control inflation through the help of the World Bank?
Well, even before calling on the World Bank, the Nigeria should control their inflation themselves. See, heaven will only help those who are willing to help themselves.
That's true.
The point is, all these things are commonsensical, and it has to do with the interest, the human heart you have for your people. It shouldn't be a kind of issue of personal interest. If you think that we have a problem, then let's solve our problem. And what are the ways in which we can solve our problem? Is to invest heavily into the African projects.
That's true.
Look at the hectares of land, look at the land mass, look at our unused land mass. What are we doing about it? Is it just, it's not enough and funny enough, they are doing one thing now. I mean, some of our politicians, all our good number of our unused land mass, they are amassing it to themselves now to build a huge estate for their generation.
That's true.
Those land mass to be used for production. Look at look at the price of rice in Nigeria. Look at the price of rice.
Yes.
It's so devastating. It's so, in short, it's something so disheartening that we have the land that could produce something like that, but we are still importing rice from abroad.
Sure.
So what if recently there's a kind of caricature of a rice pyramid that has been done, and okay, what about continuity? Is it all about showing is it all about showing the citizens that okay, we are doing this? No. There should be a kind of, make sure you lay it bare, lay the foundation, and for generation to come, it will still remain. Look at Oluwa Glass; it's no longer functioning. Ajakuta Steel, it's no longer functioning. At the point, people, it's a particular government. They erect that those structures were erected.
That's true.
But as it stands now, the issue of continuity is not. And if you, like I said, the institutions. There must be a kind of look at it. Funny enough, let me make kind of analogy, or let me make a juxtaposition. When you look at the NNPC, just yesterday it was being commercialized, but right from the time in retrospect, NNPC they've always been there, being monitored by the government, because that's where the huge volume of money is coming from, the chunks of the money. But the one that will be there to give the money in a kind of that will bring in the money gradually, they are not interested in that one. And if we were to be consistent as regards agriculture in this country, and there was a point in time in the history of Malaysia came to, is this Singapore, Malaysia, that the two, or Malaysia, they came into this country to pick oil seed, and today they are the largest producers of oil.
Wow.
And they came to Nigeria to pick this oil from NIFO.
Wow.
So what are we doing with our land mass? What is wrong if we are to make a state is known for something? Let's say Edo State is known for oil palm production. Oyo State is known for beverages production because the land is rich in the cocoa plantation. The north saw watermelon plantation. And again, it is not just enough to say you are creating all this. You are producing, or your land is you have a fertile land for a particular crop. There should be it should be on a mechanized scale.
Exactly.
Whereby there will be the goods will not just you won't just have those crops, but they will be preserved for not just 2, 3, 4, 5 years. There should be a kind of preservative techniques, so that after 2 or 3 years, you still have those products on stocks. People could still lay holds on them. Unlike in Nigeria, go and check our tomatoes after harvesting. Few days to that harvest, harvestation, you will see the decadent. You will see a decayed crops everywhere, littered everywhere. So that's why I said the whole thing. Still, honestly speaking, let me be frank with you. The whole box lies on the table of the government. The government, only the look. See, when you look at the history of every country, let's pick some personalities in Africa. Look at the role the likes of Kwame Nkrumah played in the emergence of Ghana. Look at the role Jomo Kenyatta played in the history of Kenya. Look at the roles the likes of Washington played in the life of US. You could look at even China. You could mention and keep mentioning the point. How many heroes are all these third world states producing at the moment? Except for recently, like we heard of Rwanda. That Rwanda is coming up. You heard of Mauritius coming up. So part of that are we only people who are with their personal interest. They just want to loot the country dry, take the money, take the milk, take the honey out of the country for themselves and their generation, which is very much uncalled for.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akintunde. Like you were saying something earlier on, I wanted to ask you the question initially about the increments in the price of rice. Previously rice was sold at a rate of 20,000, 25,000 per bag. But of recent, bag of rice is now 40,000. If I'm not exaggerating, bag of rice is now 40,000 naira. So I want to ask you, and I want you to, let the world know what we are talking about. What could be the factor affecting this? Okay, bag of rice, 20,000. As at 2020, during the coronavirus period, now 2022, bag of rice is now 40,000 naira. So what would be the factor affecting this?
Do you know that when demand is more than supply, there will be a crisis?
That's true.
And again, back 10 years ago, the population of Nigeria is you can compare it to that of today. Now we are 200 million plus now. So and there's a kind of high demand on rice consumption.
Yeah.
But the point is, like I said, if only the government were to be serious with whatsoever they are doing, they ought to have known that. Let me again. I love digressing. Let me digress again. When you look at US, you look at UK, you look at China. So many of these countries, they are not producing. They are not considering their immediate needs.
Okay.
They are projecting. They are looking at the future. If the government ought to have known that, okay, with the way that, because there is no birth control policy,
sure,
everybody just keep. In short, we have a woman can produce like 8, 9 kids. It's not done in the Western world. Even at the point in time we had about China, they created a belt that had to they reduce the the sperm cell of a man.
okay,
That they were told then that they will import the bed from China that has some magnetic that can reduce the sperm production of a man. And there you talk about those who have to just not you cannot give birth to anything more than 2 kids. That's in the world. That's the world that is controlling the birth that has a birth control policy. And what am I saying in essence is, I think being the country have known that okay, by 2022 there would have been more than 200 million citizens of people. They would have planned.
yeah,
But because nobody is projecting, nobody's looking at something like that, and that's why we are in this mess. So, like I said, the demand at the moment, who doesn't want to eat rice? Who want to eat? You want to eat?
Everyone wants
You want to eat
rice.
banga and everything. Everybody
No,
want to eat.
yeah, sure.
Everybody want to eat rice. Don't forget that we have varieties of rice.
Sure.
We have fried rice. We have
Yeah.
jollof rice. We have
Ofada rice.
we even have that ofada rice. We have different kind of rice. So,
Yeah, that's
so
true.
the point is the demand is on the high side. and the country, we are not producing, those who are producing locally, even the local production is not meeting that same demand. And even the quality of the local production, we are in this same country together, when you will see stones inside rice. And and you know, and it will be so devastating after putting a spoon into your mouth, and you could just there's stones all over. You wouldn't want to eat such a rice anymore.
Sure, that's true.
So that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Akintunde. Now, before we draw the curtain for today's program, I would like to ask you one more question before we go.
Okay.
According to World Bank said the rate of inflation should not be more than 5% in the country. But if you see nowadays that the rate of inflation is now more than 5%, even some countries 50%, some countries 200%. So, what advice can you give to the government and also to every individual? What advice can you give to them?
My advice to the government is one. By the way, there's always this devaluation of money. It's nothing to write home about. When you look at the price of dollars to naira, it's also part of the nightmare, the headache surrounding our inflation. Don't forget that it stands now. I think it's 600 or 500 plus. It's 600 plus that to a dollar, which is not ready to go to the economy. So, to strengthen our money, we need to strengthen our economy by going into production.
Okay.
We have to go into production at all costs. And it's not the issue of most farmers will tell you that they have problems of fertilizers, they have problems of this and that. The government must see that they strengthen that ministry. Ministry of Agriculture must be strengthened. We have all it takes to excel in this country.
That's true.
And funny enough, we have the manpower. Do you know the number of our graduates? Do you know every year in year out, number of NYSC, those who are wrapping up their NYSC programs, year in year out. How many of them are going to get the white collar job after the NYSC? Only few.
Just few.
Only those who have the contacts.
Yes.
Those who their father is
connected.
Those who have the connection. But those without the connection, we have them in their numbers. We can incorporate. We can bring all these people together and do something. There's no we have this country have all it takes to excel, but just that this nonchalant attitude, this attitude of let me just go into politics. When the politician is collectively getting loan to run a campaign, what do you expect? I mean, these are the nightmares.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Akintunde Vincent. Thank you for coming. Thank you for imparting lives.
Thank you.
God bless you. So, viewers at home, I believe you enjoyed the program for today. I still remain your presenter, Itunu Lua. See you next time. Bye.